Incident took place on Sunday in Costa Rica. He was on a family vacation. He was swimming off of the coast of a town called Cocles in the province of Limon. He was swimming at Playa Grande. I mean, I've visited Costa Rica a few times. I was there with my family a few years ago, and those currents can be very strong.
Get comfortable. Y'all, this one's gonna sit heavy on your heart. Because something about the way this all happened, it doesn't feel right. And once you hear it all, you might not be able to shake it either. We all heard Eddie Griffin's voice tremble, but it wasn't from sadness alone. No, there was something else in the way he spoke about Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Something that made our skin crawl.
I was on the show and we had such good times together. I was probably 18 and Malcolm was probably 17, 16, I don't know. And we would take walks together, all of us, and pick up food, talk, played basketball, hung out on the weekends, went to parties together. He was so...
Something that didn't sound like just another celebrity tribute. It sounded deeper, like a message between the lines. He didn't just say Warner was his friend. He didn't just call him a great actor. He called him a warrior. And when he said they went to war against the Hollywood machine, it didn't sound like a metaphor. It sounded like truth. And for those of us who've been paying attention, we already knew this wasn't just another loss in Hollywood. This felt like a warning, because people like Malcolm don't just disappear.
NBC News has just confirmed that actor Malcolm-Jamal Warner has died at the age of 54. Authorities in Costa Rica telling NBC News that Warner accidentally drowned while swimming in the ocean on Sunday. Warner is best known for, of course, his Emmy-nominated role.
He wasn't sick. He wasn't struggling. He wasn't spiraling. He was on vacation with his wife and daughter, a quiet beach day in Costa Rica, a moment to unplug, reset, and just breathe. And then, just like that, gone. The official report said he was swept away by a current. That's it. Neat, clean, tidy, too tidy. You ever notice how some stories sound too polished?
Just wanted to remind you, as I remind myself, that no matter what's going on, there's always a reason to smile. Like if you just take a minute to stop and take stock, I guarantee you can find at least one reason to smile. And if for some reason you can't find a reason to smile, then that's probably the best time to be the reason for somebody else to smile.
Like they're written to make you stop asking questions. This one had that feel. And yet, the more you look, the more things stop adding up. Authorities say another man someone no one had ever seen before jumped into the water to try and save Malcolm. A 29-year-old from Nicaragua, not a family member, not a friend, not even named, just a man. He was rushed to the hospital in critical condition and then, somehow, just a few days later, discharged. No interviews, no photos, no answers. We're told he's fine now. But who was he? And why was he there? A random local hero? Or something else? Because here's the thing. Warner was pulled out of the water lifeless after 20 minutes of CPR. Meanwhile...
What's good? Yes, I got the flower in my hair. Today's my daughter's birthday. She put the flower there, so I'm rocking it. What? It's a beautiful day here in Atlanta. I just wanted to shout out and just spread some love and some good cheer. And you know, life is out here lifing, right? For me and for everybody else. But
this unknown man gets carried off in an ambulance and vanishes from the story altogether. Not a single public word, not a single camera, flash, no updates, no background. Tell me, that doesn't feel like a piece of the puzzle that doesn't fit. Now, I know some people are gonna say, it's all coincidence, that accidents happen, that the ocean's dangerous. And yes, sometimes, tragedy strikes in the quietest places.
Really had was a multi-decade career in Hollywood, spanning several different shows. I did a little bit of research before this, and he had about 84 credits on his resume before passing away at just 54 years old. And TMZ also obtained photo, possibly the last photo of him that we may even have ever seen on TMZ.com at the airport on July 13th coming into Costa Rica. It's just so tragic to look at that photo and think that just a week later he'd be passing away.
But if you've been watching long enough, if you've really been paying attention to what happens in Hollywood when black artists speak up, stand up, and step out of line, then you know this isn't new. We've seen this before. Prince, Sam Cooke, Michael Jackson, Bobby Christina. Artists who had more to say than the world was ready to hear. Artists who dared to question the systems that gave them fame.
So unbelievable there. And Branson, I also was reading that just days ago, he had another podcast episode that was dropped, and now a lot of fans are starting to really listen to that as maybe one of his last times that you hear him.
Artists who refuse to just entertain and sit quietly, and then suddenly, they're gone under tragic, unexpected, sometimes unbelievable circumstances. Every time it happens, we get the same lines. A medical event, a freak accident, a drowning, an overdose. But over time, those stories start to rhyme, they start to echo. And that's what makes this hurt differently. Malcolm-Jamal Warner wasn't just taking beach selfies and living off his old Cosby Show fame. He was building something, he was thinking bigger, speaking louder.
Yes, obviously so heartbreaking. Such a tragedy. Here in the office, so many Cosby Show fans of this wonderful actor, and he had a very long career even after the show that he was known for.
He had launched a podcast, Not All Hood, and he wasn't sugarcoating anything. He was talking about mental health, about identity, about how the media twists and distorts the Black experience. He was diving into uncomfortable truths. Not for headlines, not for clout, but because it mattered to him. He said the show would be a place where Black voices could breathe, could heal, could be fully seen. No filters, no editing, no fitting into a box. He wanted to discuss what it really meant to grow up Black in America, the trauma, the pressure, the pride, the contradictions, and just weeks before he passed.
Show, and Theo's character in particular.
Yeah, and he moved around with such integrity, and he is very intentional about the roles that he took.
Exactly right.
His legacy is going to last forever. Yeah. He will be missed. Our love goes out to his family and our thoughts and prayers. Jerika, thank you.
He was excited about what was coming next. He wasn't tired. He wasn't scared. He was ready. So how do we go from that to a lifeless body on a beach in Costa Rica? And maybe the scariest part of all is how quickly the media closed the chapter. One news alert, a basic statement. Cause of death, accidental drowning, autopsy completed, no foul play, no further questions. But the questions remain, because people.
Turning now to a Hollywood tragedy, we're all trying to process this. Of course, we're talking about the death of actor Malcolm-Jamal Warner. He is just 54 years old. Officials say that he drowned while on vacation with his family. He was in Costa Rica at the time.
Don't just vanish at the exact moment they're finding their voice. People don't just drown when they're about to challenge the very machine they've been a part of for decades. And people like Eddie Griffin don't just toss around words like warrior for fun. That man's been in this game too long. He's seen things. He survived things. And when he said we went to war with the Hollywood machine, it didn't sound like poetry. It sounded like lived experience. That tribute, that wasn't a goodbye.
What do you want people to remember about him?
Oh boy. He was never afraid to go to his room and study and make sure he followed whatever he had learned in the acting school.
That was a signal. Malcolm-Jamal Warner wasn't just another child star who faded quietly into adulthood. He carried something powerful on his shoulders, something that never really left him. The legacy of the Cosby Show. For years, he walked that tightrope, trying to honor what the show meant to Black families across America, while also distancing himself from the shame that came later. That's not an easy line to walk. But Malcolm walked it with grace, with thoughtfulness, with intentionality. He knew what the Huxtables meant to people. It wasn't just entertainment, it was an image, a rare one of a successful, loving, educated Black family on primetime television.
In terms of the things that continue to perpetuate the negative stereotype of people of color, we've always had the Cosby Show to hold up against that.
A family that looked like so many real Black families in America, but had never been fully seen like that before. It changed things. And while the man who created it, Bill Cosby, became a pariah, Malcolm never stopped acknowledging the power of what that show gave the world. He didn't make excuses for Cosby. He didn't dodge the controversy. But he also refused to erase what the show had done for the culture. That takes guts, because Hollywood doesn't like nuance. Hollywood likes things clean, black and white, right and wrong.
Historic and frozen in time as this iconic character. What did that mean for television, and what does it still mean to this day?
Sam, Theo Huxtable was me. Theo Huxtable was my brothers. Theo Huxtable was the first time someone that looked like me saw someone that looked like himself on television. He was the epitome of what we as kids, in a certain community were growing.
Good and bad. They wanted Warner to disown The Cosby Show completely, to act like it never happened. But he couldn't do that. He wouldn't, because he understood what it meant, and maybe that's what made him dangerous. Because keeping that legacy alive meant continuity. And Hollywood doesn't want continuity when the story gets complicated. They want closure. They want to erase what they can't control. And if Warner was allowed to grow, to evolve that legacy, to build something new from it, that meant the story didn't die. It lived on, and maybe some people didn't want that, because legacy is power. Especially for black entertainers. And in Hollywood, power is something they only let you have until you try to use it. Malcolm wasn't content with just being remembered as Theo Huxtable. He wanted more. He wanted to use his platform to push conversations forward, to educate, to challenge, to disrupt. And that kind of energy, it doesn't always survive in this industry. His podcast, Not All Hood, wasn't just a hobby. It wasn't some lighthearted celebrity project. It was sharp, it was layered, it was real. Malcolm was cracking open things most celebrities avoid. He talked about the mental health crisis in the black community, a subject Hollywood still avoids unless it's tied to a drama series or awards season. He spoke about how culture gets taken, stripped of its roots, repackaged, and sold back to us. How trauma gets turned into content.
I hate to bring up the sad news, but news did break today of the untimely passing of Malcolm-Jamal Warner.
I can't believe it.
And how the stories of black people get edited, trimmed, and reshaped to be palatable. He wasn't just asking for space. He was carving it out. And when you do that, when you stop asking for permission and start claiming, well, that's yours, that's when the machine starts watching. That's when the walls close in. That podcast was Malcolm's way of making sure his voice couldn't be twisted. He said it himself, he wanted to leave something that couldn't be rewritten by producers. He was making something no one else could own, something honest, unfiltered, dangerous. Because in Hollywood, entertainment is fine, as long as it doesn't educate. And that's the part that chills people. This wasn't a man burning out. This was a man on fire with purpose. So when Eddie Griffin called him a warrior, we didn't hear fighter in the way the industry uses it. We didn't think about roles or red carpets. We heard something else. We heard whistleblower. We heard truth teller. We heard resistor. Eddie didn't say he tried to fight. He said, we went to war, past tense, like a mission was already underway. Like they weren't just battling for roles or better contracts. They were fighting a system that punishes honesty. And now, that war has one less soldier. But what made Warner even more dangerous than his truth was how calmly he delivered it. He wasn't loud. He wasn't ranting. He wasn't chasing controversy. He was composed, measured, intentional. And that's what made it hit harder. He didn't just say things to stir drama. He said things because he thought them through. He lived through decades of watching the same machine try to polish the truth until it disappeared. And he said, not this time. Now, think about it. Malcolm's voice was starting to get louder. He was releasing podcasts, doing interviews, speaking more freely than ever before. He wasn't hiding in the background anymore. He was stepping forward, challenging the new roles given to black entertainers, pointing out how we'd gone backward, how the complexity and dignity of black families on screen had been replaced with caricatures again. And then, right in the middle of all that momentum, he's gone. At a quiet beach, in a remote area, where there were no cameras, no press, no footage. The kind of place where things can happen without being recorded. And the story is left up to the official version. A beach with no surveillance. A rescuer with no name. An accident that reads like a deja vu. You start putting the pieces together, and it doesn't sound like a conspiracy theory. It starts to sound like a template. Think about Naya Rivera, Whitney Houston, Bobby Christina, Dolores O'Riordan, Natalie Wood, Aaron Carter. How many times have we heard these stories end the same way? Found in water. No cameras, no witnesses, no real follow-up. Just a wave, a headline, and then silence. And now, Malcolm, you can call it coincidence. Until the coincidences stop feeling random. This pattern, this repeated vanishing of outspoken artists isn't about paranoia. It's about history. A history most people won't talk about. A history Hollywood quietly buries while moving on to the next press tour. But Eddie Griffin didn't move on. He left breadcrumbs. And when he said, "You taught me so much," you could feel the weight. He wasn't just talking about acting. He was talking about survival, about bravery, about the real cost of speaking up in a system that doesn't want to be challenged. So now we're left with silence. A silence that doesn't feel peaceful, it feels strategic. Malcolm-Jamal Warner was finally stepping into his truth, peeling back the layers and giving voice to the things Hollywood would rather keep hidden. And just as that voice was getting louder, it vanished. We're not here to say we know exactly what happened, but we are saying, pay attention. Because when the pattern keeps repeating, when the timing is always too perfect, and the questions go unanswered, that's not just coincidence. That's control. Malcolm wasn't just an actor. He was a builder, a thinker, a truth teller, and the way he left us. It feels like a story cut off mid-sentence, a legacy interrupted. But that doesn't mean it's over, because if you're watching this, if you felt the shift to then, it's on us now. To carry what he started, to ask the questions, to honor the message, not just the man. Drop your thoughts below. Let's not let this silence stay quiet. Stay aware, stay curious, and most of all, stay bold. We'll see you on the next one.